Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. We have been celebrating the 50th year of the establishment of Maha Bodhi in Bangalore. Maha Bodhi was started in 1956, so this year's 2007 we completed 50 years. And in commemoration of the Golden Jubilee, we have been giving a talk in a series on Maha Sutta, one of the most important suttas or discourses of the Buddha, where the Buddha explains the nature of spiritual life as something which is part of life. You can't separate your spiritual life with your normal day-to-day life. The moment you try to do that, you create a kind of dichotomy between the spiritual life and the so-called mundane life. You have messed up with your life. So life has to be an integrated process of purification. Spiritual life is nothing but bringing about inner purification. So this spirituality as an integral part of one's right living is something that one should very clearly understand. So we started this in last year's Buddha Jayanti, after last year's Buddha Jayanti, and we have been continuing with this theme of the Maha Sutta. And today is the 63rd discourse in this series. I have practically covered all that has been said in the various step-by-step approach to inner purification. And that is verse by verse and blessing by blessing. Life itself is a source of blessing. We don't need to search for blessing elsewhere. We don't need to seek blessings from supernatural beings. We don't need to seek blessing from any external source. Blessing is right there within us, if only we know how to achieve it, how to acquire it by a particular way of living. Life itself is productive of blessings when it is a process of purification. So lifestyle that we adopt, is the source of blessing. And Mangala Sutta makes it very, very clear indeed. Today, we just have a bird's eye view of the process called spiritual life, which is nothing but a life bringing about blessings all the time. So spiritual life boils down to, according to Maha Sutta, to 4 types of purification. Now, merely saying self-purification can be a very generalized statement. That will not be enough to explain what exactly is meant by spiritual life in Buddhism, which is productive of blessing from moment to moment. Even the worst experience in life, painful, miserable experiences of life, can become a source of blessing, provided we learn from our mistakes, provided we learn from the failures that we created with our own foolish ways of living, when we turn these failures and mistakes into blessing, sources of blessing, life becomes nothing but a process of purification. So purification can be brought about by oneself. It cannot be brought about by religious books, spiritual literature, gurus, teachers, gods, anybody, any external source. It has to come from within, and it has to be affected by every seeker of truth, every seeker of enlightenment. So, Mangala Sutta, the core element of, or the core theme of Maha Mangala Sutta is turn life into a series of blessings by means of bringing about a progressive development of purification from moment to moment, from day to day. Every day should be a day of excellence, which simply means we must excel what we did yesterday. We should be able to record some improvement in life. Every day must be a day of self-improvement, therefore excelling what we did yesterday. This is the life of excellence as envisaged by Maha Mangala Sutta. Now, say purification or self-purification at 4 distinct levels, lest it becomes a very generalized term, and so that it is understandable through specific achievements, we have to spell it out in terms of 4 modes of purification. Number 1, purification of morality. That means purification of moral conduct. Morality deals with what is good and what is bad, basically. Not because a thing is called bad in the scripture, or by some teacher, or by the society, or by one's customs and practices. No. Good or bad are measurable facts. They are realities. They are not concepts. Because the scripture says so, or religious people say so, or elders say so, or the society accepts it to be such, that is not the criterion for judging what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Good and bad is measurable in terms of how good or bad affects the mind. So the criterion of ethics or morality is psychology, not any concept created by anybody for that matter. So now purification of morality therefore will have to be not a conceptualized idea of purification, but a real purification. Now, when we are talking of ethics, that is good and bad, what do we mean? We simply mean action. Action is the core element of life ultimately. What is it that we are doing in our day-to-day life? From the time we get up in the morning till we retire at night. All the time, whatever we do is ultimately reducible to some form of action. Either it is doing something bodily, or it is saying something verbally, or it is thinking something mentally. Imagining, thinking, judging, planning, all these are mental activities. So now, thought, speech, action. These are the 3 things that we do all the time from morning till night. So life can be reduced just to these three types of activities, and volitional activities for that matter. So good and bad relates to these activities which are volitionally, that is intentionally performed. And unintentional action will not come under ethical conduct or under what is good or bad. It is the intentional action that will come. So, when we talk of bringing about moral purification as the very first step towards spiritualizing life, so that life will be productive of blessings all the time. Now when you talk of that, to bring about moral purification, all we are talking about is how to purify our actions, our thought, our way of communicating ourselves by speech, our way of acting bodily. Now when we purify our action, which is measurable and which is quantifiable, you can quantify your progress. You can actually measure whether you are progressing in your actions. If yesterday you have spoken 20 lies and today it is 10 lies, or even less, 5 lies, you have excelled your conduct, moral conduct from yesterday. And that is the measure of spirituality. That is how one measures spiritual life. That is the purification of morality. Yesterday, if you have got angry 4 times and today you have kept your head cool, on the contrary, you have practiced metta, loving kindness, universal love, goodwill, seeking the well-being and happiness of all in the world, all beings. Well, you have excelled your conduct from yesterday. And you have brought about a measurable purification of morality in your day-to-day life. So, when we talk of purification of morality or moral purification, we are talking of very measurable here and now spiritual activity. We're not just theorizing something. We're not dealing with theory, philosophy, or some kind of, conceptualized morality. No. It's a straightforward affair, spiritual purification through purification of conduct. So now, the importance of moral purification is so great that you can never emphasize it. Now, there was a monk who lived all his life such a pure life of morality that when he became old and he was facing death, he recalled that he has not committed a single violation of the rules of conduct that he has undertaken. As a Buddhist monk, he has committed himself to the practice of 227 rules of monastic conduct. These are moral discipline, conduct of moral discipline, and he did not break even one all these years that he lived the life of a monk, of a bhikkhu. Now, having done so, at the end of life, he looked so very pure and so very holy by the way he walked, the way he spoke, the way he thought, the way he conducted himself. It was so beautiful. So people thought that he must have become an enlightened being. So when he faced death, when he was in the deathbed, his disciples came to him, and he was not able to move about at all. He was just lying on the bed at the last moment of his existence. So the disciple, the first disciple went and said, "Well, Venerable Sir, will you please tell us about your spiritual achievements so that we too might emulate your conduct and we too might live that holy life that you have lived?" So he said, "My dear," then they asked, according to the monastic life, it is normal for disciples to ask whether the teacher has attained any supermundane state of spiritual development, whether he has become an arahat or an anagami or an sagadagami or a sotapanna or a jhanalabhi, etc. In very clear terms, whether he has become an enlightened person. Enlightenment is not suddenly achieved at all. It is achieved through a process, step-by-step process. It's in stages that one attains enlightenment, starting with that of the sotapanna, one who has entered into the stream of nibbana, spiritual deliverance from the bondage of samsaric existence. And then it goes up and up till one becomes a perfect one as an arahat. Now, so this young monk asked, "Venerable Sir, would you please tell us at what stage you are so that we may worship you and gain spiritual merit?" He said, "Look, my dear, don't talk of any supermundane or supranormal experiences. All I can do, I can tell you, is tell me why you are asking." So he said, "Venerable Sir, lot of people, devotees, have come to the vihara. They have all heard that you are in a critical state. So they are asking, now they think that you have become an arahat or an anagami and so on. So that if they think that no, you have not attained, they would be very, very disappointed. And Venerable Sir, that is why we are asking you." So he said, "I don't want to make them unhappy. I don't want that they should go back disappointed. So, okay, my dear, come on, bring 2 or 3 pillows and make me sit straight." He was not able to sit. It was a very delicate condition where he had to lie down all the time. So they made him sit and supported him with so many pillows, and he entered into meditation. His meditation subject was the Satipatthana method of cultivating mindfulness, which grows into a clear comprehension of reality. So he focused from the time he became a monk till that moment when he was facing death, whether he has committed any mistake, whether he has broken any of the rules of conduct, whether he has violated his moral discipline in any manner, and he couldn't find a single mistake anywhere. He couldn't find a single violation of the moral conduct. So he told his disciple, "My dear, I can tell you this much, that from the time I have become a monk, now it is 60 years, I have not committed a single violation of the moral conduct. I have kept my moral life intact and pure. May by the power of this, I now enter into the higher stages. and then he went into samadhi. He developed the meditation quickly and very fast indeed. He developed his jhana stage by stage, and he became an arahant. And all because his moral purification was absolutely perfect, and there was no violation of moral conduct in any manner. You can try out, my dear, in your own way. If you have lived a life of pure conduct just for one day, and at the end of the day, you ask yourself, you sit down on your bed or whatever place, and recall whatever you have done from morning till evening, or whatever you have done in the form of a bodily action, or speech, verbal action, or thinking, or judging, or imagining, etc., mental action. And if you find you have committed something wrong, or that something you could have avoided, you make up your mind, you make a sankalpa, you make some kind of mental, a determination by which you say, okay, I will not repeat this tomorrow. I will do away with this weakness tomorrow. I will not repeat this mistake. And then the next day you do the same thing and you see that you have actually succeeded, that you have lived a very clean life for that day, where no violation of any moral discipline has occurred, and you can see how happy you feel. Here and now you can see the amount of joy that wells up your heart. Here and now you can see what morality can do. So, moral purification is something which is measurable, quantifiable, and is not an imaginary theoretical matter. It's a very practical spiritual experience. And that is the purpose of spiritual life. That is how a Buddhist evolves spiritually from day-to-day conduct. Every day is a spiritual, a day of spiritual excellence. Every day is meaningful when we undertake moral purification in this manner. Then, once we have a measurable a pure moral life, you also at the same time practice meditation. So, moral purification cannot be achieved only by practicing the precepts of conduct. No. It has to be achieved in so many ways. First of all, let us say the Panchashila for a Upasaka and Upasika. But that is not enough. It has to be extended to whatever you do in your day-to-day life. Now, for instance, your interaction with people, the way you behave with the members of your family, your parents, your children, your wife, your husband, that conduct, the sheer behavior and manner in your interaction between people. Now that also can be measured if you have improved in the way you speak to your own dear and near one, and you don't quarrel, you don't fight, you speak very kindly, very lovingly, and you are full of understanding for each other, and you are full of tolerance for each other. You know how to forgive, because you also seek forgiveness from others when you make mistake. So, morality means also how we interact with people, our interaction with the world. Then, for instance, how you use your things. Now, every day, every human being has to have certain requisites, certain basic essential things without which living is not possible. Now, for instance, the way we should have food Without that we can't live. We should have clothes, without which we can't live. We should have a place to stay, without which we can't live. And we also need all kinds of other accessories to a comfortable life, healthy life, just as medications and so forth. So now all these day-to-day essentials of life, how do we make use of them, is also a measure for moral purification. If you are using your food in a rapacious manner and eating just for the sake of satisfying your greed and rapacity, well, all morality is dead there. So, for eating to become an instrument of moral purification, we should think and reflect before we eat. We should reflect, why do we eat? Is it to please our tongue, or is it to make ourselves healthy, so that the body being healthy, the mind also will become healthy? And when both body and mind are healthy, spiritually one becomes healthy. Now when we reflect wisely in this manner and eat, you are making moral progress. There is absolutely no doubt about that. So one has to be careful how one makes use of everything, all the essentials of life. Whether you eat at home, or you eat in your office, or you eat in a restaurant, it doesn't matter. Eating is a necessity, and that has to be turned into a spiritual tool. It has to be a tool for moral purification. Once you understand this essential point, that this is a moral act, or it can be turned into a moral act, then life is a spiritual adventure. Spirituality does not come from trees and from sky or from anywhere else. It's a process of inward purification and development. This must be understood. Now, you can similarly, now you are having a home of your own. You own a home or you don't own a home. You live somebody else's house. But a home or a house is a house. Just to spend your time, just to live. The question of being, you are the owner and you show off how beautiful your house is, and you quarrel with others because something has happened to your house. Or you're constantly thinking of improving the sight of the house and making it look beautiful, and then be very proud about your home, having a beautiful house and so on. Or owning something, some kind of real estate that increases your status. Now this kind of attitude with reference to having a home is definitely a negative, morally spiritual or a spiritually negative attitude. Home is a home where you spend your time comfortably so that you can progress spiritually. The question of ownership, the question of showing off, or the question of being a debtor or having no home at all these questions are irrelevant to living in a place, a resting place. So like that, anything and everything that we have to use, and we do use, those things are as much a part of our moral, day-to-day moral life as anything else. People think that only the 5 precepts, or the 8 or the 10, or the 237, they are morality. No. You follow those rules of conduct as a moral discipline to purify the mind. and apart from to bring about moral purification also. But morality extends further. It extends to how we interact with the people and with the world. It extends to how we use things, our day-to-day essentials. And then how we spend our time in day-to-day life. How much time we have spent, you see, in lazing away, like just doing nothing but lying down, or reading some nonsense, some newspaper, or some such thing which does not improve the quality of life at all, or something that rouses lust and passion within, so-called pleasurable literature, magazine, this, that. Now, we should really think very deeply. Is it necessary to spoil life like that? Things which defile one's mind should be avoided. So morality should be viewed in a very, very wide and in a very comprehensive manner. So for a monk, for instance, the rules of conduct is just one, and that is fulfilled by means of the faculty of faith, Saddha. Because you have faith in the Buddha's enlightenment, and therefore the capacity of the Buddha to bring enlightenment in others, and you have faith in the perfectibility of the Dhamma, that Dhamma can bring about self-perfection and enlightenment. If you have faith in the Sangha, those who are exemplars of spiritual life, leading us to enlightenment. With this perfect faith in the three triple gem, we proceed our life, we undertake these rules of conduct in a very humble manner. Then we bring about moral purification. But that is not all. All the things that we use, for a monk it is Shivala, Pindapata, etc. All the four requisites. So those requisites are not merely to be used to live. No. One should live not for the sake of living, but one should live to be free. One should eat not just for the sake of eating or enjoying, but eating must contribute to spiritual development. One should not live to eat. One should eat only to live. Now these are wise words, and one should think on them very seriously. How we interact with people, how we spend our time lazing away, or using every moment of the day to purify ourselves and develop more and more virya, right effort. Without effort, nobody can progress. No God, no Guru, no religion, nobody can bring about spiritual purification except effort. Effort, effort, effort. That is the mantra of spiritual life. With this I conclude. May the grace of Lord Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. May you all be happy.